I know for a fact.
Informative and inspirational. How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do. Intellectuals too. Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager. Intellectuals too, with James. Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical.
Hey, what's up? What it do?
Informative and
Time for another
inspirational.
episode of the Intellectual.
How you gonna do better if you don't
Yours
know what
truly,
better
James.
looks like?
And
I do.
my special guest will be here momentarily.
Come on,
And we
let's
will
talk
continue
about
our
it with
discussion
me, the
about
mind massager.
marriage. Let me get this good thing going. Hold on. Let me turn this music off. What's going on? Where y'all at? Where y'all listening from? Say hello, say hi. Come in, let me know where you're listening from, so we can go ahead and get this show started. As we get the show started, let me get this couple things moving right now. What's going on? Where y'all listening from? For real, talk to me. Talk to me. Where y'all listening from? I want to show a clip of last week's episode real fast. I'm getting all this together at the last second. Hold on, y'all. I'm doing it wrong. Here we go. This is a little clip of LMJ talking about last week about how her husband made her. He said that she made him feel like he could do anything.
I know for a fact. I'm just being honest, just based on some closing conversations that I had with my husband. Had we not been married, he would have not been able to really fulfill his purpose. Wow. He opened a nonprofit organization, Sickle Cell Support Services. He was walking into ministry, and he tells me all the time that he would not be able to fulfill his purpose had I not been the mate, the person that he linked with. He needed me. He told me that multiple times. He's like, I needed you because there were things in you that and we like to use the term complete because he was complete through God, but there were things in you that spoke into my purpose to help me give birth to the man that I was going to become, right? Oh, wow. There were things in you that tapped me from a space that nobody else could tap me, nobody else could pull on me. There were things in you that would make me believe. So we didn't have a lot of resources. And one time we had a van. That was so funny that my dad had helped get us, and the alternator went out in the van. And we didn't have a lot of money. We had money to get the alternator, but we didn't have money to put the alternator in the van. And so it was funny because Jermaine said to me, he was like, what do we need to do? I said, we just listen, watch a video. Let's find a video on YouTube. Watch the video. You can put this alternator in this van. And so he got the video, he watched the video for a couple days. He wound up calling a friend, and it took him a few days. But in a few days, he put that alternator in that van. And he came to me later and he said, you make me feel like I can do anything.
Yeah, that video was impactful. She said that her husband, her husband told her before he passed that she made him feel like he can do anything. And I put a video out earlier today of myself where we were talking about last week about something about stroking the egos, and I think that's what prompted her to start this conversation. She's coming in a minute, y'all. I had to resend the link to her. She said her camera's rejecting her, but she's coming in just a moment. But yeah, that was powerful. And I want to ask ladies, because I've heard women say that before, that I'm not gonna stroke your ego, or I don't want to stroke your ego. Why not? Y'all answer. Let's have a dialogue right quick while we're waiting on LMJ to get here. Kiki, why wouldn't you? Who else is listening? Y'all let me know who's in the chat so we can have a dialogue. We can have a conversation. If you're talking about possibly being in a relationship with someone, or someone potentially being marriage material, or someone that you would be that one that you would want to spend the rest of your life with, why wouldn't you want to stroke that person's ego? I mean, I've heard them say you don't want them to get too big of a head or, anything. But if stroking his ego, and you do understand that one of the love languages is words of affirmation. So some people that, and I'm being honest, that's my love language. My love language is words of affirmation. So when a person tells me, James, you can do it. James, you can do it. James, you can do it. Yeah, that does it for me, man. That's like the 93 octane in my car, man. That gets me going. So I want to know why would a person say that? What'd you say, Kiki? Let me see what Kiki said. Kiki said, I always have because I love for my ego to be stroked. And that makes sense. I mean, because if you stroke someone's else ego, and we're just saying that for lack of better terms, we could say, if we don't want to say stroke of ego, we could say something like we could say something like affirm them, because somebody said that affirmation is like oxygen for the soul. We could talk about stroking the ego. We could talk about encouraging them. I know last week LMJ was saying something about how she made she call her children champ every morning, because she's trying to, she wants them to feel a certain way leaving the house, like they're winners, and that's a good thing. Listen, she's in the back room, so let me go ahead and grab her. If y'all are in here now and you're listening, do me a favor, go ahead and share this. Go ahead and share it. And let's get some people on so we can go ahead and get this conversation started. LMJ, what's up? I was kind of going over a recap of last week about your video when you said Jermaine told you that you felt like you made him feel like he could do anything. And I was asking him, why wouldn't you want to stroke your significant other's ego? Kiki says she didn't have a problem with that because she loves for hers to be stroked. So but we're talking about So go ahead. I'm sorry. Say hi, LMJ. You're here now. What's going on?
Hi, that's all. You just ambushed me. Good evening, sir. How are you? Hope you are well. It's a good start to the day. I'm good. I'm trying.
It's the end of the day now. It's the end. It's the end
Oh,
of
I
the
don't
day.
know.
I'm probably gonna dive into bed as soon as this episode is over. So believe you me. So LMJ, we're continuing this discussion of what marriage material is.
No. Hi, James. How are you? Hey, LMJ. How are you?
We just did that.
No, you did not do that. You brushed past me. You
Oh, my
just,
bad.
I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. No, we
What I say when you first? I said, hey, say hey to everybody. That's all I said.
did not. Come
All right, let's start
on.
over. LMJ, hey, how you doing?
Good, James. How are you? It's a good day to have a good day, even if it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, or you tired to go to bed. It's a good day. It's a good day to have a good day.
Oh,
It's a
I
good
would, because I
season.
didn't say hi. I didn't.
Oh, no,
That
I
didn't
didn't
mean I was
say
having a
that.
bad day.
You inferred. I never said that.
Oh,
You inferred. I said that. I said one of my
yeah,
statements,
I didn't.
things that
Yeah,
I love
but it seemed it was
is
strategically
it's a good
placed.
day to have a good day. How y'all doing? Hey y'all. How y'all doing? Welcome. I inferred. I said it's a good day to have a good day. How y'all doing? I'm good.
Infer,
Now,
confer,
what,
defer. I'm gonna do like
what do we
Erica.
do?
What's his name? Erica. Hold on, my battery's
Mm-mm,
running low.
mm-mm,
What the
mm-mm,
man say?
mm-mm, mm-mm.
Navigate, delineate, confer, defer, infer,
My bad.
chauffeur, whatever kind of fur, whatever. But I'm having a good, I'm having a good day. I'm having a good day. I'm having a good day. Today is good. It was just a restful day for me. It was a preacher Sabbath for me today, so I took it. I took it and sat here and did as much or nothing as I could. Hello, Jessica Fultz Thompson. Hello, Shanquita Jones. Hello, Kiki Jarrett. So it's 9:09 and we're getting ready to. Can we get started now, LMJ? Is it okay with you?
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. Good, good. So we're talking about what marriage material is, but part of talking about what marriage material is also talking about what marriage material is not. Um, I put a question out on Facebook today, and it's not so much the question, and it's the response to the question, or the approach to the answer to the question. The question I asked, and it was just a random question, because and there's no right or wrong answer in it, but sometimes we just run to one answer. The question I asked was if you're once a cheater if he cheated with you, will they cheat on you? And everybody was like, yes, absolutely, 100% agree,
So
no doubt. Yes.
Can I tell
Huh?
you what's funny about that?
What's that?
The way that question reads would be that everybody answered has to understand that the other person was involved in the cheating as well. So, just for example, if they cheated on you with you, you're the person that cheated as well.
You're a cheater too.
You're the cheater too. You're a cheater too. You're a cheater too.
I mean, I did. That is how I asked the question, because when you started responding, I mean, because you got triggered, she started writing paragraphs on them, y'all. I promise you did. So when she started doing her paragraphs, I'm over here, y'all. Listen, because this is an introvert's entertainment. Sometimes asking questions like that.
Question, folks.
I'm sitting at home laughing my behind off while this question is going on. But I mean, just exegetically, let's go one word. But if they cheated with, that means I'm involved you, then they'll cheat on you. Oh, absolutely.
Not cheat on you, cheated with you. You have to look at you have to break down the pieces to the question. If you cheat, like, you're a cheater too. Like, it's synonymous. He didn't ask if a person cheated on you, would they cheat with you? You're the involved person in this process. So if we look at it from this perspective, you're just as involved. And so we will emphatically answer something. I wish Avery was on here. You need to tag him. And we emphatically answer this from such a place like, yes. We're not really thinking about the question. The way the question is phrased, you're the cheater as well. And if you're the cheater as well, like, what he's asking is, if you guys go and be in a relationship, do you think that this person is going to cheat on you in the next relationship? It's just like, there is no black and white. And I didn't mean to cut you off. It just got me.
You're fine.
Because there's no black and white to this. There's so many other dynamics and things that come with this or go with this, or they have to be broken down in this. I have known people who have had affairs and have healthy, significant marriages. It's no, this is it. This is it. And I think the problem that I constantly have, and why we may be missing it in so many relationships in so many other ways, is because of the dynamics. Okay, I was sharing of how we just absolutely put everything in one box, in one size, in one fit all, and this is men, this is women, speaking from a man, speaking from a woman, when all of our sum total of our experiences affect how we respond, how we live, how we do what we say, and what goes on with us. I can't say this is a woman's perspective. I can say this is my perspective as a woman, the experiences that I've had as a woman who's had these things happen or who has felt a certain way. But I can't generalize. I can't say, somebody wrote under that post and said, so I guess people can be delivered from everything but cheating. I was like, right, like, or people can't change. So then we assume that people don't change, that people are always the same way. So it's just deep for me to see the answers, because people were so emphatic, right? And we get to feel passionate. We get to feel passionate about what we feel, but people are yes.
No thought at all.
Yes.
No thought at all.
No room for growth, no room for change, no room for opportunities, no background. I ain't got to have the background information, and I'm not justifying anything, right? But I don't have to have the background. But I could set out a proposal of things tonight that would begin to make us think about ourselves, like, what happened in the relationship? what was going on in the relationship, what doors were open, what doors needed to be closed, what had happened to the person growing up, what were cultural things that were norms, what were the norms, what were the unwritten rules. It's just so much depth to this thing called cheating. And then like we can be tied into some deep emotional trenches with people, but they not be sexual, but they still be deep emotional trenches that are satisfying us, men or female, right? So
Mhm.
it's so much more. It's never black and white. And unfortunately, we have bought into stereotypes, lies, boxes, things in which we just simply have believed them to be truth. And they don't mean they're necessarily truth. And it's also necessarily not an all truth that can go. And if we ever become critical thinkers,
Yeah, that's gonna
or
be
even as the word says in Romans 12 and 1, when he was talking about living, if we ever become rational to the word of God, we be believers, but we don't never believe nobody can change. We don't believe in the redemption power of God's love and blood on this side. So
right.
we normalize that once a person, oh, you gonna always be an alcoholic, you gonna always be a cheater, you gonna always be a violator, because cheating ranks high on what's a no-no for us. Well, for many of us, it's probably been because we've been violated, or because it's the thing in us that we've sworn will never happen to us. It's so many layers. Avery has said that it's so many layers to this that it doesn't even like it just doesn't even make sense. So it was deep for me. I was like, y'all the cheater too. Read what he wrote. Everybody like, yes, cheater.
Yeah, but
I should have came under everybody who said yes and say, okay, cheater.
but the thing is that, and this is the part for me, is that like when we had our private conversation about that, you said it's a lot of hurt people in that conversation, or and it's not even, and some of it is not even hurt that they've even experienced yet. Some of it's projected hurt, right? They're taking on the hurt of somebody else, that supposedly got cheated, or maybe that did get cheated on, or whatever. But the thing is, and you said it just a moment ago, we're so quick to project our feelings as though everybody else feels the same way, or everybody else does the same thing, because even the guy who put the post up earlier today talking about when we're talking about what marriage is, and he said he was the one that suggested that we do a show
Yeah,
on what marriage material is not. He said,
yeah,
and tell them, tell them, doing taking the back shots with the Instagram pictures and all, whatever
yeah,
the word he used,
yeah.
that's not it. And at the end, and I want us to get to the point, LMJ, where we could say, instead of saying that that's not it, say
Um,
that's not it for me. You understand what I'm
that's
saying? Or
not it for me.
because it's
Like,
everybody don't feel the same way. I mean, I wear a
yeah,
size 12 shoe. I
yeah,
know somebody else who wears a size 9. I wouldn't dare try to put that person's size 9 on, right?
yeah.
And I have
And
my
I'm one of these
own
feminine
experiences.
women. I don't wear tiny shoes. I don't have tiny feet, so I can't put on no tiny shoes. And I'm not getting ready to. It's uncomfortable, and it puts you in a space where your feet hurt, like just for real, right?
Oh yeah. But we get upset for other people so much. I just don't understand it. We run out fighting everybody else's battle, and
Yeah,
it's,
we
and, I-
got
and I
people
get it sometimes.
on tonight and they not saying nothing. I wish I would tap in, because that's what's gonna heal our community. People just kind of sitting in, tap in, share your thoughts, share your feelings. We're not gonna put you on blast. We want to hear from you as
Exactly.
well, because your thoughts are important. This is how our communities get stronger. It's how our communities heal. This is how we get better. Share the video tonight. We only have 2 more sessions tonight in the next session, and we want to get into this because this is what's going to break up the beliefs that we have had that are hindering whole and healthy marriages, breaking the rhythm for what God intended for marriage, and keeping us in a space where we are continuously repeating the same mistakes, the same issues, the same problems, and everything else. I just want to say that.
Well,
But
let's can we talk about that black and white way of thinking? Because that black and white way of thinking that everything is black and white doesn't only apply to that question.
Mm-mm.
See, that black and white way of thinking is a mentality that we carry in everything. You know, I always say that the greatest enemy of originality is the template. You know, and because we love to take a template, because a template doesn't require much thought, it doesn't require much creativity. So within relationships, right, it requires some type of creativity. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna always have a roadmap. Sometimes, you know, the GPS might be set a certain way, but then you get to a certain point and there's a roadblock. Now at the roadblock, what do? You got to make a decision now, and you got to make a conscious decision on how I'm gonna get around this roadblock. And I think that's what happens when this mentality is leading us into relationships. I think, you know, we're saying if it ain't like this, every I isn't dotted, if every T isn't crossed, if everything isn't right, then there you go. I like that, Jessica. Jessica said
I'm
it
just
becomes
gonna say,
legalistic.
and that's my sister,
Yeah,
like sister for my sister. We Jonathan and David. She is absolutely right. There is no grace in the black and white, right?
you put that on.
And then if we looking for materials, which I know how I feel about materials and relationships anyway, it's very legalistic. It's very controlling. It's very demanding. It leaves no room for grace, and it does not necessarily, for those of us that believe, leave room for God. Now, I said something to you earlier today, and I want to repeat it here because I think it's most significant. If you are looking for the perfect person, I'm gonna help you today.
Help us.
You're gonna be looking for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Because having the perfect mate leaves no room for God.
Mm-hmm.
Because you come in, and then I'm gonna deal with when you think you on, when you think you on point in a second. If you're looking for the perfect person, because in the unity of the marriage should be you, God, and the other person. If
Absolutely.
you are looking for a person with all these things that you've crossed, you've dotted, you've teed, you've whatever, then there is no gonna leave no room for God to come and be the in between y'all. And you gonna need God in the in between y'all, because he's what's really gonna make this thing shape and shift and come into where he can get the glory out of it. God is
Yes.
supposed to get some glory out of your marriage. Well, if you find the perfect mate, then most likely, and I'm just being real, there is a box that you will live in that doesn't leave much room for grace, because
Mm.
once they operate outside of what you saw was perfect, that doesn't leave much room for error, because once they operate outside of the error, you're going to say they failed you. But when you understand that I'm never going to find this perfect list or this perfect person, I'm put myself in a position to open up my opportunities to see who God may have for me, or to take chances on what God may have for me in this season. I was watching a cute little movie. It was Kevin Durant's story with his mom, and she was set up on a date. Well, nobody knew she had kids. The man didn't have kids. As soon as he found out she had kids, he shut it down.
Wow.
He didn't want to talk to her no more. And I'm like, and I know it's just a story, but I'm like, how much opportunity did he miss because he has an idea in his head of what this person should look like or be like, and it leaves no room for grace, and it leaves no room for God to make your story beautiful. God loves to make our stories beautiful. He just does. He likes to be in the mix. So if you are forever listening, so perfect people exist in the space of black and white. Now, not that I know of, I'm gonna be very clear. My husband never cheated on me, not that I know of, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I've never operated in that space. Now I've dated some people and found out some things potentially later, or some things that I thought, but so I can't say how this would affect me in further relationships. But when we are choosing or deciding or believing, there is no cut and cut cut. Somebody said they're trying to type eat oxtails and cabbage at the same
Yeah,
time.
he's texting me at the same time. Yeah.
Hey Jarvis, there is no cut and paste way to do this in life. And what fits for you may not fit for me. Even at the suggestion that we are listening to relationship podcasts and relationship advice and books and all this stuff, beneficial, but they only help give us thought to
Oh yeah.
what could potentially be going on in our lives. It is no framework. I cannot say all men are. You cannot say all women are, right? Because then we hit those black and white places with no space for gray in the middle. It's just deep. It's just too many layers to this.
I got
So
a question. I got a
yeah,
question. And I want to ask you this question. I also want to ask the audience a question. So
okay.
when I ask questions, please do this before you answer the question. Do this first. Don't just answer right away. Do this. Go. So that means you're thinking, because it's usually another layer to the question. Okay, it's not just a quick yes or no question, right? So let me just say this right quick. Do you think setting such high standards? Now, not saying that you shouldn't have standards, because you should have standards, but I'm talking about lofty, high, almost unobtainable standards. Do you think sometimes setting standards like that is a form of self-sabotage? Because what it does is when I set standards like that, if I never reach it, then I always have the excuse of saying, well, couldn't nobody reach my standards. But like LMJ said, when you do that, you don't leave any room for grace. Now, I want y'all to think about that question and then answer me. Do you think setting high, almost unobtainable, and it should be obtainable, but setting such high goals is a form of self-sabotage? Go, LMJ, go.
I, so let me say this. I struggle with this because I know a lot of times we formulate goals out of desires. I also know that if our desires are not properly aligned with God's desires for us, we will have goals that have nothing to do with the kingdom perspective of marriage. That's my one thought process. Two, if we just gonna live according to the standard of culture, even if we don't really understand, remember when we first talked about what marriage material was, having someone that we can go through life with that's willing to continue to do the work, to grow, all this other stuff. I'm real good with these are the goals or the desires, but I struggle sometimes when we make a person a goal and often think if we think in terms of relationships as achievements, then we won't fulfill, we will never walk in true fellowship. If I think of relationship in terms of achievement, then we will never walk in true fellowship because I'm looking at you again from the place of a standard that reflects a desire in me. People are going to fail you. People are just going to fail you. They are. Somebody's going to mess up. Somebody's going to make a mistake. Well, if I place these spaces and things in my life and say, this is what I need and this is what I have to have, I could be letting myself down. I also could be not in tune what I need in my life. Sometimes you don't know what you need until you experience it. And sometimes you don't know what you need until you're in the parameters of it. And once you're in the or until you lose it. Sometimes you just don't know. It's like when I decided I wasn't gonna date and I had put myself in this wall, and the Lord had just started dealing with me. Like, you're not gonna know what you like or want if you don't get out your little safe space trying to protect your heart. Give me your heart. I will not let it get broken. Might have a few stings in there, but you don't know what you want because I'll be 50 this year. You don't know what you want. What you wanted may not be necessarily what you need. I might be saying I want something, it may not be what I need. Jessica said we treat others the way we treat ourselves as a reflection of how you talk to and handle yourself. Agreed. Jarvis said inhale, exhale. Some of my greatest memories were from breaking rules. Same thing for me. My wife said she never date a dude with kids. My son was 2 years old, accidentally peed on her when he fell asleep while she was holding him. She was his mother until he died at 21. I can't say the word he said. F standards. When you pray for a thing, let God do him. Jarvis, you are my brother. Yeah. You are my brother. That is how I feel. Do away with your standards. If you will commit to let God in between this thing, he will flip this thing up, turn this thing around, and give you the greatest pleasure you have ever known. It's such a box that we place ourselves in when we live by lists and we live by, there's no opportunity.
That's all I've been. Thank you for saying that. I've been saying that for the last 6 months. We list sometimes limit us when it comes to relationship. Because guess what? Like you some things you don't even know you need.
No.
There's some things you don't even realize that you need. But guess who does know what you need? Yeah. God knows. And he's already prepared. If you give yourself the grace, if you open yourself up enough for someone to come in. But the problem is, like you said, we come in, well, we talked about it last week. We come in with preconceived notions. We're so affected by outside entity and outside noise, people making subliminal suggestions about our relationships. Somebody else got hurt, so we're going to protect ourselves from getting hurt the same way.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Oh, this boy didn't just say that.
It ain't even your story. But you done took their story, ran with their story, and made it your life, and said, oh, I ain't never gonna be hurt. But you're not even looking at the fact of the trail of brokenness that they operate in. So you make sure my story not gonna be their story. And everything that you have adopted about their story, you begin to relive their trail of brokenness, which never lets you trust men or women. I ain't gonna say what. It's gonna never let you trust men or women. You're going to assume everybody operates the same way. You're going to assume everybody has the same needs. I'm going to tell you something. This was probably one of the funnest things. Somebody was out offering me to go to lunch. And I said, give me a second. I'm cleaning and I'm cooking. And he said, I can't even get this out. You don't even look like the domesticated type.
Wow. And what does a domestic type look like?
I said, what?
Can you cook?
You don't even look like the domesticated type. I was like domestic. See, I'm a little smart in the mouth. Like domesticated like an animal. Like what the heck is domesticated? Like I've been broken like a horse? Like what do you mean? I don't look like the domesticated type. And he was like, because you're so pretty and you so fashion forward. And I was like, what? Like who else doing laundry around here? Like my boys, they do some laundry, but if I was doing like who else doing laundry around here? And
you might thought you had a maid.
Hey, if my budget allowed, I would, right? But my budget don't allow that. Like domesticated type. And then it was like, and you cook, and I was like, yeah, like how you think we?
So can I ask you a question? Him saying that was that an insult?
It was. I was surprised.
Okay.
And the reason that I was surprised was like he had a typecast and so that troubles me, right? Okay. Because, and it's the same thing I deal with now. I'm gonna be honest, since we opened this door, it troubles me because that means he was assuming about me before he got to know me. Now, I fall in this in many ways.
Okay.
Many ways. And I've had to experience this in many ways. One, the call to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ on my life sometimes limits me from the dating pool because people think I am so focused because of the call. Now I am focused on the call because this is what I'm called to do, like a doctor or like a lawyer or whatever else. This is what I am called to do. This is what I get paid to do. I'm just going to say it that way, right? This is the call of my life of what I'm called to do. Well, it often typecasts me because people see me working so hard for the kingdom, which for me, I owe him my life. Like I owe God my life, right? So what I do for the kingdom is because I owe God my life. Well, then it's assumed that after I preach, I guess I don't eat, sleep, drink, use the bathroom, or anything else outside of.
You can't do that to me because I see what you say. Don't do me like
Thank
that.
you.
For real.
I know. I have a whole life that once the cameras are off, once I'm out the podium, once I'm not writing the book. When I'm Judah and Josiah's mom and Javen and Jaleel and Jermaine and my grandson, when I'm with them, I'm not, and I've had to learn this myself because sometimes we can get complicated. I'm not pastor or minister or teacher or evangelist, LMJ. I'm their mom. When I hung with my girls this weekend, I was not at the table preaching the gospel.
No, you didn't look. No. You look like I was about to ask you for your autograph, to text me your autograph.
I wasn't at the table preaching the gospel.
You were looking like a superstar. So I'm about to send you. Text me your autograph. I needed it.
Like when I was at the awards Saturday, I wasn't in clergy wear. Like
no, she wasn't in clergy wear. If y'all hadn't seen, she wasn't in clergy wear. With all off shoulder and stuff like that.
I wasn't in clergy wear, right? So it's hard when, boom. I remember I met a guy a long time ago, and we was just kind of hanging out, talking. We had met somewhere, and he was like, man, you way different than what I assumed about you on social media. Like, it seems like you perfect. I said, then I know you're not listening to any devotional I've done because I've
been testifying the whole time.
I talk about my imperfect ways all the time, right? So if I have in a box, I remember even a friend of mine, he was shady too. When I was in a mix amongst other gentlemen, he said, I threw shade. And I said, what kind of shading? What kind of shade did you throw?
It's so funny.
You walked past and they was like, my God, who is that? Right? And he said, hey, that's Pastor LMJ.
I hate that.
She's a godly woman.
I hate it.
And I said, what? Through all, he was like, yeah, that way didn't nobody press upon you. Wasn't nobody pressing in your space. Well, I know how to handle somebody pressing in my space. I'm a lady. I know how to conduct myself. But if you assume you know me or you got me or I operate and flow in a certain way, you may miss out on the best blessing. What has happened is typically we're letting the call or maybe the way a person looks or whatever else.
There it is. Full circle.
The outcome of who this person is. Yep. Baby, I'm multifaceted. I'll blow your mind. Like I will blow your mind to the things and the depth of who I am. But I'm also a person that I don't have to give you. I used to try to run my list so that you could pick me. No, get past the cover, read the first 50 pages, and find out how interesting the book really is. Like find out how interesting the book, and we usually don't do that. So we typecast, we assume, we do whatever else, and we miss. So now, because I'm just living brave, I just said, no, I don't have. Somebody said, she just asked, are you messy? Not at all. I'm so private. It's crazy. I'm so cool and laid back. It's crazy. I'm such a good confidant. It's crazy. Like, I'm just not a messy person. I'm not a perfect person. My mouth slick sometimes. I'll tell people coming to the door, and I will believe in you so much that I'll be a bully or pushy. Those are my flaws, right? And I'm a little clingy. Like, if I'm in your space, I'm trying to be all up under you. If you turn, I'm trying to turn with you. Judah, come turn on the air. If you turn, I'm trying to turn with you. I'm trying to hold your hand. You might not like PDA public. I love it. Like, I'm trying to
public displays of affection for everybody that don't know what that is.
Don't know. You might like PDA. I love PDA. I'm probably gonna walk up and grab your booty in public.
No, don't do that.
Like, I'm just that.
Don't do that.
Turn the air on. So I'm just.
Don't do that one.
I'm just I'm just that person, right? So, and that may make you uncomfortable, right?
That would make me comfortable.
Those are my issues that maybe. So I will believe in you when you don't believe in yourself, and sometimes
can I show them?
That seems a little bully, huh?
Can I show them?
Show what?
Because I mean, some of them were known when I played this little clip earlier. So let me show them when she talks about how she supports.
I know for a fact. I'm just being honest, just based on some closing conversations that I had with my husband. Had we not been married, he would have not been able to really fulfill his purpose. Wow. He opened a nonprofit organization, Sickle Cell Support Services. He was walking into ministry, and he tells me all the time that he would not be able to fulfill his purpose had I not been the mate, the person that he linked with. He needed me. He told me that multiple times. He's like, I needed you because there were things in you that and we like to use the term complete because he was complete through God, but there were things in you that spoke into my purpose to help me give birth to the man that I was going to become, right? Oh, wow. There were things in you that tapped me from a space that nobody else could tap me, nobody else could pull on me. There were things in you that would make me believe. So we didn't have a lot of resources. And one time we had a van. That was so funny that my dad had helped get us, and the alternator went out in the van. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have a lot of money. We had money to get the alternator, but we didn't have money to put the alternator in the van. Mm-hmm. And so it was funny because Jermaine said to me, he was like, what do we need to do? I said, we just listen, watch a video. Let's find a video on YouTube. Watch the video. You can put this alternator in this van. And so he got the video, he watched the video for a couple days. He wound up calling a friend, and it took him a few days. But in a few days, he put that alternator in that van. Wow. And he came to me later and he said, you make me feel like I can do anything.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, hey, Avery and Jarvis and men that listen, when she said that man told her, you make me, when a woman makes a man feel like he can do anything, I mean, that means she's seen, you know what, when you have somebody who's willing to cover your wounds, that's like Noah had 3 sons, right? And when Noah got drunk that one time, you know, one of them wanted to go and let everybody know that daddy was drunk, but the other 2 walked in and covered it up. And when they covered it up, you know what was interesting? They didn't even walk in forward. They walked in backwards because they didn't even want to see their daddy like that, right? And so when you got a spouse or you got a girlfriend or you got a significant other that you're in and it's a covenant relationship, or you're trying to come in the covenant relationship, you're gonna cover up those things if you care enough. Yeah. If you're invested enough, you don't want to see that person go out bad like that. You don't want to see that person go down. You want to make sure that person's covered.
1 Corinthians 13, whatever, says love keeps no record of wrongs. And then the other part of the scripture talks about how basically that real love is not looking for you to fail that's not what I'm looking for. And then when you fall, I'm not ha ha ha, you fail, right? That's not what love is. And so love needs to look at I'm not looking for your mistakes, I'm looking for you to get better. Now, I will tell you, there are some things that happen between my late husband and I that I will not reveal because he is not here to defend himself. So my honor for him goes to the grave. Like my honor for him has to go to the grave as well, because he's not here to tell his part of the story. And there are some things that were painful between us. It was not a perfect marriage. There were some things that later on, like that we discussed, that were deep. There were some things that got healed, and there were some things that didn't get healed. But because he's not here to defend his case, are things that I just won't share. I'll share them in private moments, but not public moments, because he's not here to take up for himself, right?
Wow.
He's not, so I shouldn't put him out there to the space of whatever. And he did so many things so well. The last 2 years of our marriage were filled with grace, with love, because we also understood the concept of time. And I would tell anybody, the last 2 years we were together were so dynamic, because we focused on what was important. I really can't remember the other 11 years. I'm telling you, I remember pockets, but the last 2 years were the most monumental moments for us.
Wow.
That I have embraced and I hold on to and cherish. So whatever happened prior to those years are insignificant.
Oh,
What happens after that we ended well is what I feel like. And what I mean by ended well was not with mistakes, with decisions that we would choose joy, with decisions that we would face death with dignity, with decisions that we would love with, and it's probably why I love so intense now, with decisions that we would love without limits, with decisions that we would be honest about our brokenness, with decisions, with the Darcy is funny, with the decisions that with the decisions, these were decisions we had to make, with the decisions that we would cover each other with an intense amount of grace, an intense amount of love, an intense amount of respect, an intense amount of honor. And I was struggling during that time. I mean, when I knew I was leaving him, he was losing him, I was really struggling with a lot of things. And I know he was keeping me covered because I was kind of all over the place, trying to emotionally grasp him leaving me. And so we made some decisions in our marriage. And so, you know, we got another week, and I want to say, but I want to end with it. I want to end tonight thinking on these things. We got another week. I said some strong things like this is the decisions, like these are the decisions we make. If you're gonna look at some material for a person or look for a person, you need to look for someone who wants to walk with you.
Yeah.
Like that need to be in the top of your list for what is marriage material. That this is a person that wants to take this journey in life with me, right? And understands that I'm going to come with some issues and some problems. I told you earlier I was singing that little song. Now I've been singing all day. By Outkast. I know some of y'all saved. Y'all may not know this, but the song Roses by Outkast. And I think we have to think from this, because broken people always think we don't do nothing wrong, right? We always think it's the other person. And the song is about a rivalry, like between two high school crews. But they're after this same girl, right? And they're in a girl group called Roses. But when you look at the song, there's a line in there that says, "I know you like to think your ish don't stink."
SHIT don't stink.
But lean a little closer, and the roses do smell like boo, boo, like
yeah, a little rhythm to it, a little rhythm to it.
Like lean a little closer with boo, ooh, 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 right? And for me, when you start thinking of that as a person, you have to be very careful, because when we are broken, or when we have had a tragedy or trauma or something happen to us, we never look to see whether or not we stink.
Wow.
We never like to look at whether or not we stink. We don't look to see that we stink. We don't look to see that we have problems. We take on a victim mentality,
Every time.
and that mentality leads us into decision making for every relationship, because we really don't let go and let God. We
Yep.
are the walking wounded, and we are
Walking wounded.
leaking everywhere. And
Bleed.
unfortunately, when you are walking and wounded and you are leaking everywhere, you spread whatever that is that's on you and that you're going through. I mean, I'm just being real.
Oh, no
And
doubt.
that impacts your decision making. That impacts how you see everybody else. I was a hot mess. Me, the woman, was a hot mess. Now, let me skip past Jermaine, because y'all think my story was just Jermaine. I dated somebody for 9 months. Thought we were going to get married. I did. Now, he never said that. He mentioned, but he never said that.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that's the path that we were headed on. When he broke up with me, it was the most powerful moment ever. When he broke up with me, I was really, really, I was depressed. It was hard. Like, it was really a crazy moment, because I couldn't understand, how could he break up with me? I'm absolutely everything he needs.
Yeah. Of course you are.
I'm everything he needs. Like, my stuff don't stink. He don't know what he missing. Boom, boom, boom. I'm just gonna be real.
Uh-huh.
And actually, a really good friend of mine came to me and said, hey, if the breakup is taking you this far down the road, then you are not in God like you think you are.
Oh, wow.
Like, your relationship with God ain't in the right space, because you be able to forgive him, release him, and let him go, right? And stop justifying why y'all didn't work and putting it on his dysfunction, without recognizing and realizing you may be a little dysfunctional as well.
Wow.
A good friend. That's what I call a good friend. And
Wow.
when he said that, what it began to do for me is, I began to do some work on myself to find out who Lakeisha was, why Lakeisha responded to the breakup the way that she responded. And I realized that there was a lot of hurt and frustration that was probably in me even before my late husband. I just walked into some grace and some love and was so buried in life. So when he went, so I read a book that probably changed my life, and it was Love Like You've Never Been Hurt, by, I think it's Jensen Franklin. And when I read that book, it began to let me do deeper digging on myself, to realize there was so much more that I needed to figure out about myself, before I came into somebody else's life and messed it up.
Wow.
Because when I'm emotionally irresponsible, knowing that I still carry things that I haven't dealt with yet,
Wow.
then I shouldn't walk into somebody else's life
Well,
and just mess it up.
but we do that though, LMJ, and the reason a lot of people do that is because they run from pain to pleasure. I mean, I gotta replace this, because when it's pain, there's a hole in my life.
Yep.
And I need to put something in this hole, and
Yep.
pleasure makes me feel good, right?
Yep.
It validates me, and then
Yep.
if it doesn't feel good, then what do? I act out. I respond. I mean,
Yep.
I respond out of a trigger. The trigger, my
Yeah.
trauma kicks in, right? And
Yep.
the trauma, it reminds me of something from the past, and all of a sudden, rather than trying to rehabilitate, what the first thing I do? I amputate. I
Yep.
cut it off. I don't even
Yep.
take a chance I don't
Yep.
even take a chance to try to put this thing together. I give up so fast.
Quickly.
And that's what we do. We don't have any stick to itiveness anymore. We don't want to go through anything. There's a process you go through, you're grown through, and then you grow through. But
Yeah.
I've never seen a seed that didn't have to encounter some type of dirt.
No.
Some type of seed has to encounter some type of dirt, and if we view our life as a seed that's ever evolving, that's ever growing, at
Yeah.
some point we're gonna have to deal with some type of dirt, right? And
Yeah.
when we run through it, but it's the dirt, it's the messy stuff that actually helps us grow.
Yeah.
And we grow through that adversity. I like to say adversity has a way of advancing us. It
Yeah.
has a way of advancing us. But most of us, we would rather amputate as soon
Yeah.
as we feel any type of adversity. I'm done. I don't like pain, so I stop. I quit. I
Yeah.
quit.
And pain doesn't mean that it's not becoming something.
No.
Right? Like it's so even in a relationship, pain doesn't mean it's not becoming something. We have bought the Disney fairy tale for so long. And I say this? We bought the Disney fairy tale for so long. And when we buy the Disney fairy tale for so long and not realize, now let me say this, because you may wind up being with somebody that is not a man of color. I need to, because I'm very strong. And one of my friends helped me understand why. He said, probably because you're a mother of sons, right? I have older sons. Very strong and very protective of how we treat our men of color, especially our African American men. I'm very protective of them. And the reason I'm very protective is because I feel like you guys almost like are endangered species.
Absolutely.
And if we don't put you on the list like we do the eagle, because you are important to our culture, you are important to our community, you are important to how we are protected, how we live, how we vibe, and what we do, right? Well,
Yes.
if we don't understand, you might be damaged. You might have been molested. You might have been
It
abused.
happens.
You might have been abused growing up. You might have been the person cheated on. You might have seen your mother be dogmatic, ostracized,
Yep.
taken apart. You may have seen your dad be used. There may be a perpetual cycle of abuse that you come from. For some reason, we assume y'all good.
No.
Nobody's dealing with your mental health issues.
We bulletproof.
Nobody's dealing with you trying to find your place in society. Nobody's dealing with the mistreatment that you've received over the years because people feel threatened and insecure about who you are. And we keep addressing y'all. I'm just going to say we, I'm not saying all, I can't generalize, but it's what I currently and constantly see. We keep addressing y'all from a space like y'all all good. And
Yep.
so if the let's be biblical for a second. The scripture said there'd be one man to seven women. Well, right now, statistically in the African American community, that's what the trend is saying. For every African American, if you want to be with an African American person, for every African American male, there's probably seven women available to the one man. Well, if that's true, based on what I'm seeing is culturally, and that's what go back to like don't nothing stink. We may get you fractured. We may get you unhealed. We may catch you in a process. What if the grace and the love that flows through me, because that's how it's supposed to happen, is what changes your life?
Yep.
Then why can't we always want to talk about I want to be extension, I want to be extension of God's love. We fine with that until it comes with marriage and the relationship that God may call us to. We don't want to do no grace and no extending in. We ain't got no time for that because in my mind, I've created a list. I've decided you're going to be made out of this material right here with no chance to evolve. And I'm not even looking for I ain't talking about potential like you a hot mess, but I'm not even looking for what God may be saying to me about the full potential of who you are. Because I got my list and all I'm concerned about is my needs being met. And I ain't even trying to figure out you out. Wow, we done got enough of y'all that's hurt and that's damaged and that's whatever. That's fine. But who gonna be the person to make the decision that we gonna restore a remnant just for kingdom? Like, who gonna be the decision that I'm gonna be patient with you? And here's the thing, I might need to be patient with you and not date you. I might need to be patient with you in the friendship so that you experience the power of love in the friendship. And then the friendship adds a measure of grace and love that you have never, ever experienced before. And that love and power flowing through God, not through me, because we don't harness, we don't contain love. Love belongs to God. It flows through us. And then that measure of love that's inside of me taps something in your heart that says to you, baby, there is so much more life for you to live outside of the life that you've been living. So let me be patient and extend some grace to help nourish you. Because what happens is when you come depleted, you need nourishment. Can I give you something out of the Bible where the Lord has shown me, and I'm just giving you a perspective? Come on, Jarvis, drop your question. Because I got to go to bed in a minute, but I'm giving you extra time because I got on late. But from perspective, think about it. We talk about the story with the widow and the oil that never ran out, or the widow and she fed the prophet first. Right? She was in a dire situation. I'm going to help y'all. I'm going to give y'all a little bit today. She was in a dire situation, but she took care of what the prophet needed first. The Lord sent the prophet. Like, especially women in the church who we be looking for pastors and preachers and teachers and priests, right? 100. Jarvis, I'm an introvert, really, so yes. I have sons that are like that, so yes. I was married to an extrovert, so yes. Yes, and I love silence, so yes. Oh, I love silence, so yes. I disappear in my house all the time. My kids like, where's she at? Where's she at? And I've had to learn how to take context clues to silence, because I didn't used to be that way, because I told you I can be pushy. Like, I want to figure out what your problem is and try to solve it. But now that I'm over my Messiah complex, right? I can kind of navigate through, okay, we need to talk about this. Or if you tell me, hey, I'm through talking about this, that I don't keep pushing into this or trying to bring it up. I used to be that person. But as I've grown to be more mature, I've learned that that's not healthy for our relationship, to keep trying to push you in a space to talk about something that you don't really want to talk about, or something that you may need time to think about. Doesn't mean I don't bring the issue. I'm going to bring the issue. But when you through, we through. And I'm not going, it doesn't mean I'm going back down. I'm not passive at all. I just know how to navigate through the waters until I get clarity of what I need. And as I'm evolving, I'm learning how to do that better.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Listen,
that's a good place to close, because she got to go to bed. She got to do her thing in the morning. Tell them what you do in the morning.
Coffee and Conversations with Lakeisha, sipping at 6 a.m. We're just a community growing in grace in Jesus Christ. And we get together and we pray. And then we try our best to rightly divide the word of God. I try not to speak a word that is not, I hope, doctor, is sound. But there is also a prophetic grace that lies on my life. So I just try to take what the Lord has shown me and give it to you. And I give a lot of my life and what is going on in my life on Coffee and Conversation. So join us at 6. You can replay it on YouTube, on Instagram. I just dropped a new book, 30 Days of Prayer Devotional. It is not just for women. It's for men as well. And so buy a prayer journal for your fathers. Dads need to pray over their kids too. That would be a great gift for Father's Day. Buy a prayer journal and send it to your husband, your ex-husband, and say, hey, baby, just for you to be able to pray over kids. Imagine what that would do for you.
Well, I appreciate you. Listen, We've had another show. We got one more show. Keisha, we got this LMJ. We got to decide if we're gonna do next week because next week's Memorial Day. I'm going to actually be in I'm going to actually be in Arkansas. I plan on coming home to see my father, so I should be there. But we'll talk about it during the course of the week, and we'll let y'all know what's going on. Because we want to finish this last show strong. Yeah. We're gonna finish it really strong, and I do want to open up the alliance and let some of you all come on and share some of your convictions, especially if we do 9 to 10. What do you say? Age do matter. What that means?
I don't know. James Rose. I don't know. James. He said, "What does age do matter mean?" I don't. He's one of. I'm gonna call him my friend. He gets on coffee and conversation. He says I said something in a devotional about age do matter, but I can't remember it. So maybe he'll explain to us more about what that means.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Well, hopefully we can get it worked out by next week, Mr. James. But it's been a good show. I've enjoyed it. Looking forward to the last show. Well, I say last show, but we'll see how this goes. But it's the face I just made. But listen, the world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Peace.